Hey everyone, patch 9.12 is just around the corner now, and we've got a few decently big changes, a few updates mixed with a bunch of nerfs and buffs that for sure will change like at least parts of the meta and what's being played at the moment. At least we probably won't be seeing Silas in every single game after this, but we will be seeing a lot more Ryze because he's getting like his millionth rework. So his Q damage was increased by a little bit. The shield has been removed with that though, and the speed is going to be worse early. And with Flux, the damage has changed to scale with your ultimate. Your W now just slows for 1.5 seconds instead of rooting, but with Flux, it does still root. Your E, your Flux now always bounces off that first target, but the bounces don't do damage anymore. The damage and the mana cost on that first one have been lowered slightly. Your ultimate spell ranks have been increased to 3 now. The overload damage, so your Q increased by 40 to 100%. It was 40 to 80% before, so it's slightly higher now at later ranks. So it seems like quite a lot, but the biggest thing really is that his W now only slows unless it's on the Flux target. Flux will auto bounce. It's really useful, really easy as well, but it doesn't do damage. And the 2 rune combo for your Q overload gives the move speed but no shield. I think it's going to make him a bit easier, more accessible to play for most people, if only because you can wave clear without any real setup now. You throw your E, your Q, and it bounces and spreads to everyone. For sure though, he's going to be worse in lane phase because there's no instant guaranteed route anymore. You'd have to flash E, then W afterwards, which definitely gives them time to flash away as well, unless they have like proper granny reactions. Basically, one of the reasons I see Ryze being picked all the time is because the jungler can gank for him, and that's just not going to be as good anymore because you don't have that guaranteed route, that really quick setup. The main thing you have to do really as Ryze now, like the biggest like brain thing you've got to think about, is you have to choose what you use your Flux for, the root or the spread or the bonus damage. The one good side is that in theory, he's actually a little bit better late game now, damage wise. I think like up to 100% bonus for overload with level 16 instead of 80%, and more mana use on his W. The Q already deletes people late game when you amp him, when you build some AP, so that is definitely a really good thing about it. So Silas is kind of getting a mini update. It is just changing his kit at the moment, but I'm calling it a mini update because it changes the entire way you're going to have to play him. The damage on your passive has been increased a little bit, but the radius reduced, and it also now does 30% less damage to targets other than the first, but it does have 2 charges. The second part of your Q, the explosion, that radius has been reduced as well, damage lowered, and AP ratio lowered as well. Your W heal increased by a little bit, and also 10% of your AP ratio, but your E now only shields on champion and monster hits. The shield is actually bigger, and the AP ratio is up as well, but the cooldown has been increased later by 4 seconds. If you take out the damage side of things and how his wave clear works, like his E is now just going to be 14 seconds base rank 5 and doesn't even shield unless you actually dive on into a fight. Why I kind of call this a mini update though is because his passive is a big nerf. It's a big nerf to wave clear actually. Even if it does have 2 charges, it's going to be worse at shoving a lane. It's less damage, it's a smaller range as well, so it won't hit as many minions, it won't kill them as fast, and even the Q explosion is going to be wave clear as well. It won't scale as well at the same time when you try and fight someone. There is one good side though, so when you actually dive in and you fight a champion, you get a bigger shield, a bit more damage on your passive, and the first part of your Q is the same. So when you're actually dueling somebody, like you can kill them basically just as fast. When you're looking at everything else that is leading up to that kill, it's going to be a lot harder, but when you actually dive on in, that is still going to be relatively the same. We're going to jump into our nerfs now, and Aatrox is going to kick us off, getting some pretty big nerfs that will be, at least I think, noticeable in the game. So his passive, the range and the damage and the heal, that cooldown has been changed from 15 to 24 to 12 now based on your level, and the ultimate healing bonus changed to self-healing only instead of all healing. Going from 15 to 24 seconds is a pretty big change for the lane phase. It makes your trading worse, and one of the ways as well to heal back up right after the trades actually happen, but still, it does actually reduce by 2 seconds for using your spell still. You might think the ultimate change isn't really that big. It depends on your team a little bit more. Like if you have a redemption, for example, right? That was a huge thing for him in team fights. The same with a Yuumi or a Soraka or a Nami or a Sona. When you think about it like that, like rank 3 of Aatrox ultimate increases healing by 70%, so it can actually make a really big difference, and it can be a huge amount of heals coming in. Aurelia is next up, so her E range lowered a little bit, and the cooldown as well increased to 18 to 12 from 14 to 10. So she is probably one of the best champions at the moment when you're really good with her, but rather than going for damage, they're going for the setup for the damage, and I think this is aimed apparently more at pro play. The cooldown is now 4 seconds higher, rank 1, and normally it's maxed out second, so it's a nerf for lane phase more, and then for a bit of the mid game. That is where a lot of games are decided, so you're definitely going to feel it being longer, but then you also won't be able to catch people from as far, and this is one of your best ways to set up the mark that lets you jump in and start your combo off, so that might kind of limit how many kills she gets and how many team fights she can engage. There are a couple of supports as well getting nerfed. Lux isn't one of them, which I'm kind of surprised about, but Nautilus Q damage has been lowered by 20 rank 1 and same rank 5. They're finding ways to nerf his early lane phase. Even from level 1, he can get a lot of kills. You start Q, you go in, you apply your passive root duration as well, and somebody is probably going to be dead. I think it's actually that more than the damage, really like the lockdown. So your Q has crowd control on it anyway, then your passive, the auto attack afterwards is going to do damage and also root somebody there, which the enemy AD can then follow up. Either way though, whether it's the crowd control or the damage, it is going to be 20 damage less, which when you don't have that much health very early into the game is definitely going to help you try and survive. I actually think though, if you get hooked, you're probably going to be more than likely dead at this point, so it probably won't make that much difference, but maybe you won't die as often as you are right now. I guess that's if you don't ban him, but right now I'm actually banning Yuumi instead of Nautilus as an AD main. She is also getting a few nerfs. Base health is up, so I guess that's a buff, but her passive mana refund lowered early, and the AP ratio on this shield has been lowered by 10%. Also with your W and attaching to people, enemies gain assist when damaging her attached ally as well. The dash now can be interrupted by any crowd control, and your adaptive stat sharing has been changed to have a base and a slightly lower percentage. This is actually a nerf to good Yuumi players, but not really to bad ones, so they don't really ever get off, right? And auto attack, so they never use the mana refund or the shield, and it won't really make a difference. For good ones though, definitely going to be worse, and then it's more risky now with her W being able to be interrupted a little bit easier. This should get Yuumi killed way more in the lane phase. It is way more risky to play her, and it's more worth going for her actually to try and kill her. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be easier, so you should win your lane a little bit more, and then late game she loses 5% of the stat sharing. This is actually probably better in the lane phase because of the base amount attached to it now, but then worse in team fights, and especially with late game builds is going to be a lot worse. I definitely still think she's a very strong champion though, especially in certain lanes like with Sivir or with Ezreal, and with certain picks on her team, kind of like a Pyke or a Rengar. So our last nerf for this patch is going to be to Corrupting Potion. So the magic damage over 3 seconds changed to 15 at all levels instead of 15 to 30. It basically just doesn't scale anymore. It's a bit weird because it's still fine for the lane phase when you're going to be buying this, just not going to be doing as much afterwards. It might be a bit more worth to sell this for a control ward, I guess, even though that's definitely not going to happen in solo queue, but that's probably the idea. So now we're going to move into our buffs for this patch, and they're actually just targeting a few underplayed champions that probably need a little bit of a boost. Ash, for example, isn't really that bad at the moment, but a W cooldown has been lowered by 1 second to 14 to 4. Now, I'm not really fussed about the 14-second part, honestly, but when you get Essence Reaver and you max his first, that gets down to a 4-second cooldown with no cooldown reduction, so it's kind of like a 3-second volley now. Her lane phase is pretty weak anyway. As Ash, she can't really go as aggressive or do as much damage, or at least not really burst anyway. It's way more over time, like slowly tickling them to death, I guess. Now though, once you do get level 9 and you have your Essence Reaver, you're going to be spamming your volley out so much. It's going to be crazy in team fights. You'll have so much more damage and so many more slows. I actually think we're probably going to see a lot more Ash with this. I know it sounds really weird because it's only a second, but it's 4 seconds rank 5, and I think that's actually pretty crazy. We've actually got another crazy buff for Caitlyn in this patch as well. Her base AD is going to be increased by 2 up to 60. I know I meme it a little bit, right? But base AD for an AD carry is actually pretty good because it feeds into your abilities. Like, so is Caitlyn's Q, traps, and headshots and stuff, as well as all of her auto attacks. It'll actually also help you CS a little bit better, which I think is going to be pretty handy, I guess, for most people. So you get more farm, which might mean more gold as well. In theory, it's actually not that bad. Like, it feeds all of her damage. It feeds all of her auto attacks during a fight. It gets her a bit more gold as well. So I would definitely say this isn't like completely trash, and it actually is a little bit better than you probably think it is. We also have a few support buffs. So first up, we're going to have Karma. I actually imagine that top lane Karma is probably going to be using this a little bit more than support, but we'll see. So a Q slow has been increased a little bit by 10%, even though the empowered version is still 50%, so that's unchanged. The bigger part about this though is the shield move speed. The duration has been increased by 1 second to 2.5 to match the shield length now, and the mana cost has been lowered by 10. So this is going to give you more move speed on Karma now. You can chase people down, or it's a bit safer as well, especially for Kleptomancy tank Karma top lane. That's actually going to be a really good buff. The way I can kind of see it working, especially if you're with a Caitlyn or something with quite high range, is you slow them for a bit more and then you buff your AD, and they're going to be able to chase them down just a little bit easier and get more follow-up damage. Caitlyn Karma, by the way, is a really disgusting lane, but she's not the only support getting buffed this patch. Lulu is also getting her shield increase. It's going to be up by 10, so it's going to be 80 to 220 now, and the mana cost has also been lowered at later ranks by 20, so that's rank 5. Right now, we don't really see Lulu that much anymore. Janna is really strong at the moment after her kind of like mini update, so Lulu has definitely been left behind. We also have a couple more jungle changes as well. So Warwick's Q AP ratio of 10% to 100% now. Last patch it was buffed, so it's going to heal for a bit more. I have no idea. I've never seen AP Warwick. I don't know if it works or not, but 100% AP ratio is actually pretty nuts. Maybe we're going to start seeing some Runic Echo's Warwick nowadays. Who knows? That was buffed as well a few patches ago, so maybe that will be a thing. But Zac is actually also getting buffed in this patch. His W damage is increased by 10 to 25 to 85. Remember, this is wave clear and he spams it all the time, so it's actually a pretty good buff. Also, his ultimate knockback is going to be a bit better now, so it's changed to 250 units from the target. So whoever he hits, they go back 250 now, and also now drops 1 blob per bounce if you hit them. I'm actually surprised that Zac isn't very good right now. He actually dropped in win rate, I think, after this update, after this Reaver that we had last patch, even though I thought it was actually going to be a good thing. He will be able to heal a bit more in the team fight though. He'll be able to farm a little bit more, which will mean he can gank a little bit more as well. So these are definitely good changes. By the way, we also have updates to Wukong and to Malphite as well. I've talked about them in previous videos, so I don't really want to make this too long and go over them again now. They might drop this patch, but they've been on there for a few now, so we don't actually know exactly when they're going to be going onto live servers. Thank you for watching till the end of the video though. I really appreciate it. Make sure you thumbs up the video if you enjoyed it. Thumbs down if you didn't, I guess. Make sure you subscribe as well, but I'm guessing if you're at the end of the video, you probably already are. Either way, thank you very much, and for now, I will leave you with the robots.